Hello, everybody. I hope you have had a really nice weekend. I hope that work is going okay and you're enjoying the nice weather. So, we have a lighter week this week in terms of lessons. In fact, we don't really have a real lesson this week because I want you guys to be able to work on your research for your essays. And this week, you also need to work on the outline for your essay. And so I'm doing a short video here where we can go through the assignment, the 10% outline assignment, just so you guys know for sure how to do it. Now, before I get started, there's a couple of things I want to say. First of all, uh, the essay outline that you're doing is going to be due on Sunday. So it's due at the end of this week. And that's part of why I'm not doing any additional lessons right now. We need to be focused on doing our research, which you've already started and are well on your way with the bibliography. And then using that research, you can start to plan out what your essay is going to be. You can start to figure out things like your thesis statement and how you're going to organize those paragraphs. So, having said that, you don't necessarily have to have your research 100% done to do the outline. In fact, if you have the bibliography done, and so that's about halfway done your research, that can be a pretty good time to start working on the outline. If you start working on the outline and you feel like, you know what, I haven't quite figured this out yet, I don't know exactly what I'm trying to do with my essay, then you can go back and do a little bit more research and then come back to the outline. So the outline is due on Sunday, and the way the outline works is it's 10% and you're getting that in two places. The first place is in your thesis statement. Now, this thesis statement is worth 5% out of 10, so it's worth half of the mark. Now, that seems maybe like a lot because the thesis statement is only one or two sentences, so it's a lot to assign it 5% of your final grade. But remember that, as I said in the week 11 lesson, the thesis statement is really going to be the foundation of your essay. Everything else is built from that thesis. So we want to spend extra time here figuring out exactly what we're going to argue, making sure that it is a debatable claim, that it is an appropriate size for a 1,000-word essay. In other words, it's specific enough, and that it actually matters. So spend some time figuring it out and spend some extra time wording it very carefully. We want to get this thesis statement exactly right because we're going to be building our essay from the thesis. Now, just as a reminder, essay structure, essay outlining, and thesis statements, these are all things that we covered in the week 11 lesson. So if you are a little bit hazy on last week's lesson, or if you haven't done the lesson yet, it is very, very important that you go through the week 11 lesson, you get yourself completely caught up on that before you do this assignment. So, here are the instructions, and you can see I've given some instructions for the thesis statement. Again, if you haven't checked out the week 11 lesson, I go into much more detail about the thesis statement there. Now, the other 5% is going to come from the outline itself. In other words, it's coming from the structure, the organization, the plan that you're making for your essay. I'm going to be looking at, okay, do these paragraphs work together? Do they make sense together? Do they effectively support your thesis? Have you avoided making paragraphs, like say 2 paragraphs that are basically the same or that overlap? Does the order of the paragraphs make sense? And again, just like with the thesis statement, we talked about how to outline an essay, how to organize your essay in the week 11 lesson, and we looked at lots of examples of general outlines. So make sure that you go through that. Now, when you get into the second page of this assignment, this is the part that you're actually going to fill in. So part 1 is the instructions, or rather page 1 is the instructions, and page 2 is the part that you're going to write in. So we can see right off the bat, it says introduction, but for now, all you need to include here is the thesis statement. So this is worth 5%, and I want to see this thesis statement carefully put together right here. And I will be, once I receive it from you, I'll be grading it, giving it my feedback, returning this outline to you so that you can use my feedback before you launch into the essay. So right here, that's where your thesis statement is going to go. Now, as you can see, here, this is how the body paragraphs are set up. So body paragraph 1, and then I've said circle 1, summary, counter-argument, or persuasive. Now, since we're doing this online instead of in a classroom, you probably don't want to circle it, but let's say that you've thought about the structure, you thought about your research and how you wanted to fit everything together, and you've decided to make your very first body paragraph a summary. Well, we can just do this, oops, and then all of a sudden it's going to say, come on, there we go. It's going to say summary for body paragraph 1. And so when I look at it, when I see your outline, I'll be able to see right away, okay, this body paragraph that you're doing, this one's going to be a summary. Now, I want to see the topic sentence for each of the body paragraphs. You only need to write one full sentence for each body paragraph, and that's going to be the topic sentence. Remember, when we talk about the topic sentence, we're talking about the very first sentence for each body paragraph. So you'll have your topic sentence here, and as you should remember, depending on the type of paragraph that it is, there's going to be a different form of topic sentence. So for a summary, we need to have a topic sentence that includes the author's name, the title of the article, and a paraphrase of the author's thesis. The counter-argument one is almost the same. So have the topic sentence, and then you can just put in a few bullet points here. I've put in 2 to start with, but it doesn't have to be 2. You could make it 3. It really depends on what your plan is for the paragraph. Now, I want to be really clear here that you should not write a whole paragraph in this space. I don't want you to just basically write the entire essay and give it to me. Because the whole point of an outline is that we don't just want to dive into the writing process and just start banging the keyboard. We want to be very strategic when we're starting. We want to think consciously about the structure and just the structure. We want to think big picture. And that way, if there's any structural mistake, for example, let's say that the order doesn't quite work, or that you have 2 body paragraphs that are a little bit too similar. Well, when you just do a very spare outline with not too much detail, just enough detail, then it becomes much easier to spot those problems from the very beginning, make an adjustment, and then go into the actual writing process having fixed that problem. So for each bullet point, let's say one sort of sentence, and it doesn't even have to be a complete sentence, but just give me a sense of what you're saying. It should reflect maybe some of what you've done in your research, but it doesn't have to be extremely detailed. And I know that you guys are still working on your research, so it doesn't have to be 100% figured out in terms of the minor details, but I do need to see the general plan. So let's say you get to the body paragraph number 2, and your plan, what you've been working on and thinking through, you've decided you're going to have the summary for 1, and then body paragraph 2 is going to be a counter argument. So we go ahead here, we indicate that body paragraph 2 is a counter argument, and then again, we're going to have your topic sentence. Topic sentence will be very similar format to the topic sentence for the summary, but these bullet points are going to be very different, obviously, because for a counter argument, you're not summarizing, you're trying to disprove the topic sentence, or it's rather disprove the author's claim that you're paraphrasing in your topic sentence. So we'll have that filled out, and as you can see, you're going to do that 3 or 4 times. So you're going to figure out what you want to accomplish in each of these body paragraphs. You're going to figure out the order that they appear in. And for an essay of this length, it can either be 3 body paragraphs or 4. My recommendation is 4, because otherwise your body paragraphs will end up fairly long. But if you feel like 3 is going to work better, that is okay. Now for this outline, you don't have to worry about the conclusion. All I want to see is the thesis statement and the plan for your body paragraphs. And remember, don't write the whole paragraph, just give me the topic sentence and bullet points. So before I let you guys go, I'm going to show you a couple examples, and we'll see what the problems are here. Now, for this student right here, there's a few problems. As we can see, the thesis statement is actually a question. So we know that's not a good thesis statement because the thesis statement has to be a claim. And in general, what we can see here is, yes, this is point form, but it's a little bit too general. I can tell looking at this very quickly that the student hasn't actually done any of their research yet. They're sort of saying, well, I'm going to find something that basically says this or that covers this. And it's okay if the details aren't completely worked out, but I need a little bit more than this. So this is an example of one where it's just a little bit too thin. Now here's another one, and this student did fairly well on the assignment, but not as well as she could have done. Because as you can see, she has really put tons and tons and tons of text into each body paragraph. Now, in some ways this is good, but the problem is that you're not really doing the job of figuring out the structure first if you're just jumping in and typing a whole bunch. We want to give ourselves the challenge of figuring out the structure in a more spare form. It's harder to do, but the job of doing it will help you understand the structure better. It'll help you feel more confident about the essay, and ultimately, you'll do a better job. So, this is the assignment for this week. I want you guys to try to get this done for sure by Sunday, because the sooner you submit it, the sooner I can grade it and write my comments and return it to you, and then you'll have more time to actually write the essay. If it's impossible for you to get it done by Sunday, that's okay, but do keep in mind that the longer you wait, the less time you'll have to work on the essay. Last reminder, please, even if you've already gone through week 11, that lesson, I really recommend that you go through and just review it quickly one more time, because everything that we're doing on this outline assignment, everything you need to know in terms of how to put these paragraphs together, how to think about the order, all of that stuff, including how to write a good thesis statement, all of that is covered in week 11. So that is it for the lesson for this week. You've got your research to work on, you've got the outline to work on, and as always, if you have any questions or any concerns, please don't hesitate to contact me.